Hey guys, so today I am doing a video. I'm going to talk about a couple different things. We've all heard about the ongoing issues that are happening at Reddit, which appears to be turning into a big evil corporation is what it's looking like. They're starting to restrict API access for those who make third-party apps. And of course, they're saying this is being done in order to allow them to collect more advertising revenue for all applications, including possibly charging those who are third-party application creators. And so Reddit's about to get a little less accessible. And there's also been ongoing protests at Reddit where moderators have been doing various types of forms of protest, including even taking down some of their channels for at least 48 hours. So that's one thing that's happening with the Reddit world. I don't use Reddit that often. I have used Reddit, I have an account on Reddit, but I don't use it very often anyway. But it is a good source of information sometimes, but it looks like it's about to burn to the ground. With Reddit being inaccessible, we can take a look at another option, and Not Bob shared this website with me. What's neat about this is you can access it through various different means, including Tor, I2P, and other anonymous access options, along with the normal web. So if you have an interest in something similar to Reddit, the similar type of community, but something that actually does respect your privacy, you might want to check it out. It's relatively new, of course, so it's not like huge compared to something as big as Reddit, but it is another option. So I'm going to sign up for an account here. But I did get some links, and I want to just share some of the stories and some of my thoughts on it. So apparently the French Senate has given a green light to surveillance through cameras and microphones. Now let's explore this a little further. So we can see the Ramble post here. They also say users of uBlock Origin and Signal are potential terrorists. And this is the kind of propaganda we have to fight against. And one of the most important things to remember is no matter how small you think your voice is, everything has an equal and opposite reaction. Everything makes a difference. Even if you can't see that difference, we create the future using our collective voices. We create perception by speaking out. By doing it en masse, we're able to actually change the actual perception of privacy, things like that. And that's one reason I created this channel, is to be one of those voices, to speak out for privacy as a human right. It's a basic dignity. It is the right to human autonomy. When you consider all of the actions being taken with our private data, they're using now AI, and they can use that to manipulate people on a level that hasn't been seen before. So the power of AI is great, and if you're not protecting your privacy, you are giving someone else power over you. Everything you do makes a difference, so share these videos, share posts that speak up for the basic human dignity and right that is privacy. It has nothing to do with this BS that some of these puppets are talking about, saying it relates somehow to terrorism. That is far-fetched. And, the whole war on terrorism has really been a war on your privacy. And it should be recognized for that. It is a war on your privacy. And same with this whole thing about, you need to destroy encryption and security on the internet in order to protect kids, which, as we know, is just the latest version of the war on terrorism. These are all just ways to pinpoint and attack privacy of everyone online. And so let's take a closer look at what the French are doing right now. So the French Senate is giving the green light to do surveillance through cameras and microphones. And so what the story covers is the French Senate approved a controversial provision to allow law enforcement to secretly activate the cameras and microphones on your smart devices and your smartphones. And we know how these kinds of things have been abused with the reports on FISA. Well, they say there's also a court involved in this, but as we've seen with the abuses of FISA, can you really trust any of this stuff? You can't trust the so-called oversight because countless times it's violated in order to further empower centralized parties and organizations. The entire thing is, as it mentions here, it transforms all our IT tools into potential spies. And that's something I've seen coming from the very beginning. You know, these things that have microphones. In fact, I believe it was a Google Nest, if I recall. I'll have to double check that statement, so don't quote me there. But I do believe it was one of those products that actually had a microphone that wasn't even listed on the documentation for the device. So it supposedly wasn't supposed to have, in one form of these IoT devices from Google, wasn't supposed to have a microphone, and it did. Well, you got to ask yourself, with things coming through the pipeline like this, and you should ask yourself, how can my microphones be used against me? And giving this amount of private conversation data, you know, this kind of stuff can be used for blackmail. You know, if you can imagine, just talking about a movie may sound incriminating, even if you're doing absolutely nothing wrong. You know, some of the conversations we have in day-to-day life, we don't realize how they can be twisted. And so we just have to take all these things into context, that things are going to be taken out of context with these device recordings. And how can they be used against people? People don't consider how some of our basic conversations about different things in life can be misconstrued and used against someone. And so this is why I don't support these IoT cloud-based devices with microphones and other types of, you know, biometric scanning sensors. And we need to really be cautious about, you know, not speaking out, because the reality of the present day is an accumulation of the voices that have stood up and spoken up. And sometimes this is just by political party, which appears to run in the media. It's mostly political party, right or left, you know, viewpoints for that particular highly funded corporate run political parties. And so that's what we're seeing, everything through the lens of these giant corporations that are funding political parties, and then that is dripping down into the media reports, which then help create the perception of the public of different issues. That includes privacy, that includes any other subject you can imagine, all the divisive stuff that is going on right now. That is your corporate government. That is your corporate funded government, I should say. And really, when you go back to Mussolini, and he talked about fascism, he said that fascism is more rightly called corporatism, because it is the combined power, combining the government and corporate power together, working together to achieve even more power. And we're seeing fascism today, and we shouldn't beat around the bush on this. We are seeing fascism, and we need to stand up about this, because if we don't stand up for this, if we don't stand up for basic human rights, we are not going to have them in the future. And we need as many people as possible sharing these ideas, sharing these videos, sharing these posts. Share whoever's videos and posts that you think have changed maybe your viewpoint, or maybe you think could help change someone else's. So we need to consider all these things, because the less we speak up, you know, silence truly is consent. If we are not speaking up en masse, well, we are giving our consent to all of these drastic, you know, viewpoints that are really far-fetched. And you know, the media does create perception, and perception is reality. And we can make a difference there by speaking up, by sharing this information, by helping inform others of the importance of privacy, helping to inform others about their basic human rights and how important it is to speak up to make a difference. Another thing I wanted to share is just, so if you want to go look at an article, you know, for example, I'm using the New York Times, you have a CAPTCHA. That's pretty annoying, right? But if you're in Tor browser, you can actually go up here for that article, click Onion Available, and what happens is you'll actually skip the CAPTCHA, and you'll be able to go right to the article. So that's a little trick. I've shared that before on my social media with people. but thought you guys may find that a little handy, and just wanted to do this little video. I'm actually traveling right now. I've been traveling for the entire month almost now, and I should be back on location soon, so it's been more difficult for me to record videos, but I should be back where I usually record videos pretty soon, within a couple days. That's the story on Reddit, and make sure to check out Ramble. It's worth checking out. I like it. I like a lot of the content being covered there. Maybe it's something you want to check out. You might learn something there. The articles today that I'm sharing all came from Ramble, so you may want to check that out. You know, it's got a lot of good people behind it, and it's something I'm going to be checking out. That's what I have today, guys. Make sure to like this, share it, and subscribe, and I'll be back later with more on how to protect your security and privacy.